From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, December 15th, 2016. Silver is trading at $16 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,128 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 0.9 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $782. Antiwar.com reports the U.S. Law of War Manual has undergone a substantial change from its 2015 version, aiming to avoid at least some of the loudest condemnations from lawyers and human rights groups about the manual's advice on U.S. military personnel attacking innocent civilians in war zones, which is supposed to be the whole purpose of the guide in the first place. The 2015 version of the manual suggested a broad collection of civilians could simply be killed with impunity and that their deaths could safely be ignored when decided if an attack was proportional under international law. This included civilians being forced into being human shields, along with civilians working at a facility whose continued operation helps the enemy. Legal experts warned this was a major misinterpretation of international law, and it likely played a role in U.S. officials declaring all civilians in major cities to be de facto human shields during military operations in places like Mosul, since it made their lives legally meaningless, at least according to the book. The new version of the book insists that involuntary human shields now must be given full protection under the laws of war, though the manual continued to insist that people who voluntarily remain in an area where they are shielding something the U.S. wants to bomb are not afforded such protection. Rutgers law professor Adil Haki was the most specific critic of the book, quoted in the media, saying the new version is an improvement but continues to fall short. He warned the manual's concept of passive human shields who don't even know they're shielding something covered pretty much every civilian in the Islamic State-controlled cities and towns. He also expressed disappointment that the manual continues to argue that when there is any doubt about the identity of a potential target, commanders can simply assume none of the people present are civilians. In 1999, Daryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic. Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Daryl W. Perry on Facebook, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com. UPI reports, as expected, the U.S. Federal Reserve voted Wednesday to raise key interest rates by a quarter point, just its second rate hike in the last 12 months. The U.S. Central Bank was widely expected to move the federal funds rate after an entire year of resisting increases. The Fed said in a statement on Wednesday afternoon, information received since the Federal Open Market Committee met in November indicated that the labor market has continued to strengthen and that economic activity has been expanding at a moderate pace since mid-year. Wednesday's is the first change in the interest rate since December 2015 and just the second hike in nearly a decade. Last year's increase was the first since the financial crisis of 2008-2009. The Fed also said they expect the rate to increase by another 3/4 of a point in 2017 and 3 separate quarter-point hikes, a pace quicker than it previously forecast. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Arctic air that swept through the U.S. Midwest on Wednesday is expected to bring the Northeast the freezing conditions that contributed to the death on Tuesday of an upstate New York boy who became trapped in a snowbank. Temperatures in Chicago, the country's third-largest city, were expected to plunge into the teens on Wednesday, at least 10 degrees below normal, according to the National Weather Service, with wind chills as low as -15 and even lower temperatures expected on Thursday. National Weather Service meteorologist Andrew Orison said the Arctic blast would bring record-low temperatures to parts of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region on Thursday, with cities from Boston to Washington feeling the chill. Arctic air spreading from Canada across much of the northern U.S. this week has led authorities to warn people about frostbite. On Tuesday, a 12-year-old boy and another was hospitalized after tunnels they were digging in a snowbank collapsed on them in a parking lot in Greenwich, New York, about 40 miles north of Albany. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.